week on page 180, we're here to discuss the penultimate episode of season 2 of The Last of Us. We were kind of saying, oh, but we like this season, but we need a bit more emotion. And then they're like, oh, I'll fucking get you if you want emotion, you bastards. We have a lot to discuss. The flashback episode for Joel and Ellie. Joining me to do so, as always, is the one, the only, from Fan Club. It is Kev Keen. Kev, welcome back.
Hey, thank you.
Kev, I actually got a bit of feedback for last week's episode, and
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. It's not positive feedback.
Yes.
But we're gonna get into it anyway, okay? Not
Okay.
that they said it was a bad episode or anything like that, but it was by long-time Low Blows listener, and unfortunately close personal friend of mine now, Keith Hanley. And Keith turned around to me at one stage, he's like, "Oh, yeah, man, what the fuck's the story with all that fucking Andor talk at the start?" That's a very good Key Hanley impression, by the way, if you don't know him. Just take my word for it. Very good. What story? I'm here to listen to The Last of Us. I don't watch Star. I listen to your fucking Star Wars show if I wanted all that Star Wars talk. And you know what? I said to him, you know what? That's fair enough. And we did say last week we were talking a lot about Star Wars because Andor was in our mind. Having said that, purely for the sole purpose of annoying Keith Hanley, who I know who's listening right now, Kev, what did you think of the finale of Andor?
to carry on your set to Jerry and yourself sentiment from Sargers this week, because I was listening. It's the perfect end to a perfect show, man. It's just everything I wanted. No gratuitous cameos. One of the best flashback episodes till this week, I think, as well. It's perfect, and it's like nearly the penultimate episode because Rogue One is your season finale of season 2. That's that. You can go straight into it as well.
Feel free to talk as long as you like. I want you to envision how annoyed Keith Hanley is listening to this. Like, I want you to really dig in if you want. Go 20 minutes if you want. It's fine.
Keith, if it does make you feel better, like halfway through the episode last week, we were in Last of Us discussion talks, and we were still talking about Andor. I was like, "Fuck, we need to talk about this episode." In my
yeah. We had the same notes, but also I do like winding Keith up a lot, so there is that.
Excellent.
It's a great show, Keith. Just fucking watch it.
One thing I did say to you last week as well that wasn't mentioned in the show is the little thank you that I think K2SO should have gotten for saving everybody in that one episode too. It's like, come on. He terminated the shit out of it in a hallway scene. Done perfectly well as well, done amazingly well, and I was like, couldn't even say thanks. And then they're like best buds in Rogue One. I'm like, I feel like K2SO got kind of hard done by there as a droid, but perfect. No notes, perfect.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Big thank you to K2SO and a big fuck you to K2S Hanley. Well, welcome. Don't go anywhere. That's the last we're going to talk about it, Keith. Don't worry, because we aren't here to talk about Andor.
I couldn't do that to Keith.
I would.
We'll keep it short and sweet.
I'd do it again. If I could have a do-over in that intro, I'd do it the exact same 100 times out of 100. We are here to talk about The Last of Us, though, and we're dying to talk about this. We deliberately have kind of held off all of our thoughts and conversations for this. This was the episode we were waiting for. It is the flashback episode. It is something that covers a lot of ground for the games as well. And we are going to discuss it with spoilers as well. So now, when I say spoilers, I mean TV show spoilers. So if you've watched the most recent episode, you're fine, you're safe. Don't worry, we won't be spoiling ahead. We will be talking about the video game as part of this. We'll give you warning ahead of the time we do. But this week, actually, when I'm looking at it, it isn't a spoiler video game conversation. We're not going to get into major video game spoilers. It'll be more at the end. We're going to do just a comparison and maybe some of the things you left out. So I think this week, if you're one of the people who avoids the video game section, and I get it because you don't want anything spoiled, it's actually a good Easter egg to listen to the comparison this week because it might give you some extra context or extra bits, things that were inspired, things they left out from this. But we're not going to get into what happens in the future of the games here, because we're heading into the series finale next week. We're nearly, or season finale. We're nearly at the end of this already, Kev. It's flown by, but sure, look, we're here now anyway. We're gonna get into the episode, but before we get into our own thoughts, we're gonna bring it back into this for the purpose of anyone who may be binge watching and listening after the fact, to remind you of everything that happened in the episode with our alt recap of season 2, episode 6, and we open on a flashback of a teen Joel getting a bollocking from his dad for taking the blame for Tommy getting into a fight. It got a bit emotional at the end as Daddy Miller ended up crying when he realized Joel was afraid of him beating them, and saying that he was trying to be better than his dad and hoped that Joel would also do the same. Well, like, to be fair, you also said this right after you've given your child a Budweiser, like your young child in a country where you have to be 21 or over. So I think you need to try harder. Like, it's all well and good saying I'm trying, but you're also giving him booze. Like, so there's that too. Fast forward to the apocalypse, and we see Joel in the early days of their time together in Jackson, building a guitar for his birthday. She asked him to sing a song where he finally gave us the iconic performance of Future Days from the video game that we talked about for a few weeks. It was beautiful, but maybe because I'm emotionally stunted, and in any situation where like the feels creep in, I use humor as a coping mechanism. Part of me was really hoping that like they built up this perfect moment, and then he just turns around and does a full Kurt Angle like Jimmy Crack Corn, and I don't care. I got Olympic gold. Woo! I got Olympic gold. You had a chance last of us and you missed. I'm just saying, but this was amazing. But also, I was thinking about that, and I was like, that was in 2001. The apocalypse happened in 2003, and Joel is absolutely a wrestling guy, so he would know that Kurt Angle song. Like, it's there. Like, it could still happen, is all I'm saying. There's still time for another flashback. A year later, Joel takes Ellie to a dinosaur and space museum, which is a thing that totally exists. Like, I've been to 4 last week alone. For her birthday, as she sits in the shuttle and listens to a recording of the Apollo 15 liftoff. It's legitimately the greatest birthday gift of all time, and he did it working with apocalypse level resources. All of our parents should hang their heads in shame. Oh, I got you a PlayStation. No, sorry, he did that in the fucking apocalypse. You lose. No. The next year, Joel arrives home with a cake to catch Ellie doing all of the teenage shit in one go. She's smoking, she's hooking up with a girl, and she's getting a tattoo. To be fair, I have to give credit there. That is 10 out of 10 efficient teenager by her. She managed to also find the one person in the apocalypse at the end of the world who can do all of that with her. Like, that is just perfect teenager. Like, you can't even be mad at her for that. You just have to respect it there. For her next birthday treat, he takes her out to murder the lovable bumbling elderly guy, which it's not as good as the rest of them, John. I'm not gonna lie. It's not. I'd have literally just gone back to the Space Museum again. Personally, like, that's not the bonding experience you were kind of hoping for. Ellie responds about as well as you imagine, which sparks a rift between the pair that takes us up to the start of this season, where we see Ellie demanded that Joel tell her the full truth or she'll never speak to him again. Joel panicked and yelled out, "Okay, damn it, one time I thought about my cousin when I was wanking, but it just popped into my head and I didn't mean it. Intrusive thoughts. You can't control them all the time." And then he's like, no, the fucking murders, you weirdo. And he's like, oh yeah, no, I did them too. And that was the excellent episode 6 of season 2 of The Last of Us, The Price, which was directed by Neil Druckmann of the video games. I think I broke Kev there. Seamless to you guys, but we had to edit there because I broke Kev at the end of that. He froze. You know, it's hilarious. I'll share it on our socials or something like that. The photo of how he froze, which again is a common pose for how he does that. He's just like head and hands, like for fuck's sake. But he's back. We're here. Connection sorted. Kev, that was the emotional episode we were waiting for. We were saying last
Yeah.
week that, you know, or at least I was like, I'm connecting with it in terms of intellectually, I find it interesting, but I need to
Mm.
connect emotionally. For me, they delivered a lot on this, and I texted you. I know after I'd watched it slightly before, and I was like, "We are fucking back." Do you share that sentiment? I haven't got your thoughts yet, and I'm very intrigued to hear them.
Um, yes, uh, but I don't think I'm still as emotionally invested as you. Um, and I do think that's from not playing the game.
Okay.
I thought I thought some of the scenes, and it's mostly the scenes of for her birthday, I guess, with the dinosaur scene and the museum scene. Um, I was saying to you earlier that I went to see Sinners over the weekend, and I was
Mm.
in bits at the end of that movie, and I remember just still the feeling of coming out of that film and like I need a drink and to talk to someone about this. Um, and then it just and it's not great comparing the two of them, but for a very emotionally driven episode, I thought it was fine, but
Okay.
it didn't do a massive like the first half of it. The second half did, but the first half of it, I was expecting to feel more, and I was like, "Fuck, what is wrong with me?" But yeah, it was like, but it was lovely. It was a great episode in terms of seeing their relationship develop since they've been in Jackson, and just seeing Ellie just being a teenager and seeing the awe in Ellie's face is great. What really got me was the two of them in the space shuttle, and the two like she's just after finishing listening to the space rocket launch, and he's like, "Did you?" I think he says, "Do you like it?" Or "Did you like it?" And she was like, "Are you kidding?" And he's smiling, and a little tear rolls down his face, and I was like, "Ah, that's nice." But we're going back to KTSO again. She never said thanks. I was like, "Fuck you, Ellie." I
It's
was waiting for
very
it the
like,
entire time.
like, geez, I better fucking thank you at the end of this episode. I feel like that you're dropping hints here, like. Thanks for doing the podcast. I always appreciate our friendly conversations. No,
You
I get
do, to be
it.
fair.
That's interesting. I absolutely adored this episode, and maybe it is because they played out so many iconic scenes. Now, again, there was a lot that was original in this episode as well. Um,
Hmm.
for me, it was a massive risk to pack all of the emotional stuff because again that's exactly what we were saying we were missing last week
Yeah.
in the heights not hitting or us not fully understanding. Now again, if you play the games you do understand, but it still doesn't emotionally resonate when you have to retrofit the things that happened into the moments that are happening, like Ellie singing If I Were to Lose You last week. If you don't know the games, you don't know what that means until you've seen it a week later. But then the emotion hasn't hit when it needed to hit because it happened the week beforehand. Do you know what I mean? Because you just don't know that that's a thing that he sang to her, and you haven't seen that performance, so you haven't, and you also just haven't experienced it with these actors playing them. So as far as
I
I'm
wonder
concerned, like.
is this gonna hit different on a second viewing maybe?
I've watched it like twice, and maybe like yeah, when I watch the whole series back, those moments might resonate more, and that's a massive risk. And I'm not saying I don't want to let the show off the hook
Mm.
just because they did all the things here, because still structurally they've sacrificed moments for the sake of having like essentially a perfect episode here, which is what
Yeah.
I consider it as. Um, and that's a risk. Like it's the risk alienating people, and I imagine like the show just isn't getting the buzz that season one did. I just don't mean that there's no buzz because I still know people who watch it and are enjoying it, but I felt like in season one I had people actively come to me all the time going, "The Last of Us, man." Even if they hadn't played the games, they just wanted to talk about it. I don't feel that way with this season. And do you risk that and frustrate people for the sake of a perfect episode? I'll be honest, that's not my choice to make, and I got what I wanted out of this episode. Um, busting out the big guns like Tony Dalton, Joey Pants in totally original scenes here as well.
No,
Um,
that was phenomenal.
yes, and again, like it's just a reminder. Sometimes this show just like smacks you over the head with a reminder. We're actually HBO Prestige TV, and that
Yeah.
those two showing up. And we knew obviously we've been talking about when Joey Pants showing up, but giving back
Was he in it
all
for
the
like?
feeling.
He was in it for 5 minutes, maybe.
And he
Fucking
made every
stole.
second
Like,
of it
yeah,
count. And I want to give him his own like kind of
yeah,
section
yeah, yeah.
to,
We'll
to,
leave
to
that
appreciate
for a
that.
bit. Yeah.
Um, but giving all the feelings back in one and emotionally priming us then for the finale, I don't know if that's gonna work on a complete showing of it. Again, maybe when you rewatch it and you've seen this episode and then you watch back the scenes, it'll age better. That's a weird way to
Mm,
structure a TV show, to be honest, to require that of the viewer. Um, it's also likely the last we'll see of Pedro Pascal, as that's literally all the Joel scenes from the game, at least. And it does actually make you grieve him. I get why they decided to not have him for 3 episodes. They wanted us to miss him. The problem is, awkwardly, we more forgot him because they
yeah.
just kind of got on with the show and they told us a bit of a different story because it became a love story between Dina and Ellie, um, than miss him. So I don't know if that risk worked. Um, but
If I'm
now we're like, fuck me. When this show is about, like, when this show is Pedro and Bella, and when this show is Joel and Ellie, this works in a
yeah.
way. And now I miss them. Now, and then they're just kind of tagging out and they're like, okay, Bella Ramsey, Isabel Merced, over to you. Top it. You know what I mean? And that's interesting. Um, so again, like, that's me kind of putting a producer hat on a bit there. I did love this episode. I thought they nailed
Mm.
it. And I don't know. I'd hope that through our conversation, maybe I can help you appreciate it more with some of the bits and
Yeah.
kind of chatting through it. But or maybe you could kind of bring me over. I think that's why we do these discussions.
Mhm. I think on a rewatch, I would watch this episode after Joel's death
Mm,
because I think some of the stuff it sets up, like Ellie not being able to play the song in the theater, will work better after Joel's sung it to her.
yeah,
Like you said there, I think it's a weird spot for it that I kind of, do you know what I felt like? It's that the emotion was already kind of spoiled on me. That
mm,
because she couldn't play it, and I was like, oh, this is just a song she couldn't play, but it didn't. The emotion should have happened when she couldn't do it,
yeah,
rather than
yeah,
when he was playing it to her. And I feel like the audience is a bit robbed of that.
yeah,
And I just think structurally, even this season so far, like you said, it's not grabbing people the way the season one did.
yeah.
Um,
They changed it like and the game does it perfectly in the like again we will splice in video game conversation because like I said it's not spoiler, it's more complimentary to this episode, because we don't need to discuss anything else that happens in the game because there's so much here in the game.
mm,
For anyone who's never played it, the future day scene is something you actually see before you get to any of the present day stuff. So that's the start of the game, and then when you have, and I talked about this when they did the Take on Me episode, when Ellie's singing Take on Me, because the last time you've touched the guitar in the game was with Joel playing Future Days. And again, if you've never played the game, they have you go in and play a few chords on the guitar before they go into the cutscene. So you actually feel like you're playing it. So you're physically reminded, your muscle memory brings you back to that moment. So you're unmistakably playing it in memory of Joel. Like as the
yeah,
person playing, you cannot turn around and forget about Joel. Whereas the discussion we had about it was, did you even think of Joel in it? And then it's like, well, yeah, when Ellie said I did it for Joel afterwards. But yeah, and then like the flashbacks that we got in this episode are interspersed throughout the season at key points. So and they do tie in with story points in the game so that everything everything that we've seen in the show pretty much happens with a few kind of like, adaptive choices that just suit TV better. That I don't disagree with any of them. I think they have and they were right choices. But yeah, it's just structurally the season. I don't think the decision they made, and I understand exactly why. They wanted episode one to feel weird and they wanted to build up the tragedy that when Joel dies in episode 2, um, you're like, oh, Ellie, and then you feel the regret of her ignoring him and giving him the
Mm.
cold shoulder, and it's a mystery. Then why did that happen? Blah 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 blah. Um, and then they didn't show us any of this and didn't go through the flashbacks because they wanted us to miss Pedro, and I don't feel that worked. So I don't feel the structural decisions they've made have worked and made the story better, but I can't flaw this episode. We are where we
No.
are, and in terms of like the performances and everything that's done here, the actors did. I'll always, when I'm discussing acting performances, I'm like, did they do what they were asked to do? And they fucking knocked it out of the park here, you know. And
Yeah.
did Neil Druckmann direct the
Agreed.
shit out of this? Yes, it's the overall structure of it and the fact that we were missing feelings where this would have really helped if they'd have done it. And again, it's they made the choice to do a 10 out of 10 episode iconic that you look back on and you'll always remember and say, oh, do you remember that episode? In the same way we will about episode 3 of season 1 with obviously Frank and Bill. They made that risk. I don't feel that risk is paid off in a grander scheme, but this episode was phenomenal, like in by itself. Like I will go back to this episode and I'll go, fuck me. So it's what do you want from it? And I just feel that that's a choice that hasn't paid off. And I think that's the only criticism I have of this. I enjoyed everything. I think the series is good. Um, but that's the only critique I'd have of season 2.
I do
Um,
think that is my main criticism of it. Is it feels like it's a very self-indulgent episode because they wanted to do everything all at once in one big package. And I'm like, this would have worked better interspliced, I think, to get some of the emotion. And like you said, I can't fault the actor. I think Bella and Pedro are at their absolute top of their game in this episode. Um, but yeah, I wish they would have gone for the intersplice thing rather than this one big emotional dump.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I can't fault the scenes or the acting in it at all.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And again that's us playing critics there, but like for the hour I watch this, I bawl my fucking eyes out every moment here. I'm like, right, I'm back where I need to be emotionally with this show.
mm,
And I'm feeling all the things that I felt the show had. And so again, it's not the episode, it's not a criticism of that. But yeah, it's when you get into the bigger picture discussions.
yeah,
We got a totally original scene at the start starring Tony Dalton. They gave us a flashback into Joel's childhood and an indication kind of maybe his, how he became a protector or that kind of thing. What were your kind of takes on this whole scene and what we learned about Joel, I guess?
first of all, the kid that they got to play Joel, or young Joel, they nailed that. He's like the image. He was absolutely brilliant. I loved that. I thought it was just for what happens later in the episode, and him talking to Ellie. I thought that was a really nice. They're like bookends to each other, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a lovely way to finish or to start and finish the episode. Great acting from the two kids and from Tony Dalton, aka was it Trevor as well in GTA. I can't see him as anything other than Trevor though.
No, for me, he's what's his name out of Better Call Saul.
Oh
Better Call
yeah,
Saul is where I know him from.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was it was a nice little opening. Weird though, as you said in the in the intro though, that you're a cop and you're after going crazy at your kids for smoking weed or buying pot, and it's like offering your other kid like this kid a beer as well. It's like sit down with your old man. It was like okay, this is really strange, but yeah, I thought it was all just build up to give Joel that one sentiment. I'll just do a bit better than I did, and I thought that was nice, a nice way to
Yeah,
do it.
and I sets it up, and then yeah, I do get what they're going for. I didn't get that much from this, but it was just nice to get extra Joel,
Mm,
after kind of missing him for a while. So I had no complaints about this, and then just having Tony Dalton be that guy that he is, kind of in every role that he plays, where he's both at the same time really charismatic. Like he just owns a screen that he's on. Like we need to have more Tony Dalton starring roles. Like I need more of
yeah,
him in my life. He owns the screen. He's super charismatic. Um, but then he's like charming, but then there's the hint of menace behind everything he says. You know what I mean? You're like, you believe, you instantly, it's credible that he's going to get the belt out at any minute and start like going mad. And there's a tension there as well that he, like, him more than anyone else. I thought it was just perfect casting for him to play that moment and then to actually soften again. I don't know anyone else that could have played this as well as him, and I thought it was excellent. So yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely love this scene. That sets us up to kind of get an idea then, I suppose, of Pedro Pascal's Joel as a dad. Um, and there were some very funny dad bits. Like I loved, for example, like where he's like, "Hey, what's going on with you and Jesse? I got a keen eye for this kind of thing." And like he was just, he reminded me of. Do you remember like the meme of Matt LeBlanc from the Friends reunion, where like he's a '50s dad with his arms folded and stuff like that? Like that was Pedro Pascal in this episode. He did it so well. Like even the fashion choice, the wardrobe was excellent. Where like he's coming in and he has like the blue Levi's jeans, but like his shirt tucked into them and they're pulled up really high. And like he was fucking perfect in those scenes.
yeah,
I loved as well like how he's he's got all this thought and he puts all this effort into it, and you can see that this is the one true passion and calling he has in his life, and that's Joel. The first time you meet him, he's being a dad to Sarah and just try and a single dad as well, like just trying to work his ass off doing double shifts to try pay the bills and make ends meet. But like he has that such warm, affectionate relationship with Sarah, and we obviously then build on that with Ellie in season one. But like what I liked about it was he also gets stuff wrong. Like happy birthday, Eli, you know what I mean? And
well,
there's the
that
food
wasn't
side
his
of it.
fault, but
Yeah, and they're not his fault. But like again, just look at the cake, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And you would have known this is coming. Um, but then there's the parts where he gets stuff wrong in a harmful way, like when he learns that Ellie's gay, like, and
yeah,
he's just there. His response where it's like, and like it wasn't even deliberately cruel, which somehow made it hurt more because it's just this is what he really feels. Where it's like, you don't know what you're saying. We'll discuss this later when you're yourself. It's such a cutting line to a
mm,
teenager when she tells you that she's gay. Like it's horrible. And like again, he means it in a good way, but that's worse because you're
yeah,
rejecting who she is in favor of who you want her to be. But then there's also he's a really good dad. Like it's so it reminds me almost of the Quiet Girl, like the excellent movie a couple of years ago, the Irish movie that got nominated for Best International Film at the Oscars. Where it's just so nourishing to see a kid getting to be a kid and he values that. And Ellie is that teenager who's pushing to be an adult, but like actually kids need to be kids. It's really important for them to have that stage of development, and Joel gets that. Um, but also he gets her so fundamentally, like he understands her at such a core level, as we saw. Like, okay, the Space and Dinosaur Museum, which again, not a thing, but whatever. The Space and Dinosaur Museum, um, that's obviously perfect, but like the fact that he had a rock waiting for her, and part of her birthday present was you get to break a window with a rock.
yeah.
It's just
That's
such a
great.
little thing where it's like, I know what I'm gonna do in this moment, and she love just breaking shit. And it's just like you get her on a level that only you can get her. Loved this performance. Pedro Pascal was just fucking showing off in this episode. He was giving us everything he had, and I fucking adored it. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, same kind of sentiments, man. Before I go on, actually, as well, to shout out to their makeup team that made aged Pedro every year
Mm,
perfectly as well. It
yes.
just kind of gave him a little bit more grey and a bit more kind of grizzled look as well as the years have gone on. And it's just subtle stuff, but like it's noticeable. I really appreciate that. Um, I loved it. Showed Pedro, or sorry, Joel's character, the fact that he was from construction and worked with his hands, building the guitar. I thought that was fucking great, and just as a musician as well, seeing him put that guitar together with the piece of bone in it too, I was like, this is fucking beautiful. And making a guitar and getting a guitar right and the balance of it right as well with the neck and the truss rod, and it shows how much care he put into that. And I
Yeah, that's
love
his love
and
language.
and the little engraving in it as well of the moth, because he's like,
Yeah.
he's drawing moths all the time, and it's fucking brilliant. Really, really loves that. Um, the scene as well, though, where he's kind of rejecting her coming out. Someone at work today actually made a great point because we were talking about it little bit, and they were saying like you have to remember it was 2002 when this happened, and he's from Texas, so he's got a very kind of conservative mindset, which I thought was like, oh, that's a kind of an interesting point that like he's still not maybe accepted that properly yet because the world has moved on a good bit like now, but back then it was very very different. So you can kind of see, and like he does eventually like understand. But I think from like an initial reaction, it's probably very genuine.
Yeah.
And I really liked how they did that as well. It's like it's heartbreaking to
He
watch though.
he can't yeah, it's just not, and that's very real, and it's such a good subtle kind of the easy thing to do in this scene is to be like, you're not gay in my house or whatever. Like to kind of have like, someone freak out and say really offensive shit or something like that as well. But it is more devastating because it's like it underscores that thing the parents have of like you're my child, but like again, the child is getting old enough that they become their own person. They're not who you designed in your image, and you have to let them be them, and you have to accept them for who they are and stuff like that as well. And Joel's just not ready to give that. There was that quite sweet scene then afterwards where he's like, maybe it's time you got your own space, and that's him conceding to her. He's like, I want you to be independent. I don't want to
Yeah.
like. And he's had all of that as well. So like it comes from the best place. It comes from again, like and like you say, it's 2029 in the show or 2026 or wherever, like flashback wise. But 2029 in present day of the
Oh
show.
yeah.
But yeah, you're right. The apocalypse happened in 2003 and the world was kind of stuck with whatever the prevailing views of 2003 were. And you and me both grew up
Yeah.
around then. We know some of the shit that was said in the playground that wasn't even controversial back then, and now it's like you couldn't say that shit. And that's ultimately what we're dealing with, and we're contextualizing. So judge
Mm-hmm.
Joel, but like judge yourself if you use stuff like that as well, and you're the same age kind of bracket and live through that. Um, let's talk future days. We finally got the Pearl Jam song, iconic. What did you think of Pedro's rendition?
Loved it. I loved that he couldn't sing it very well. I thought it was the
Yes.
best. Like it's he's just doing his best for that because she's like it's my fucking birthday. I have to. And I love that he was just like, no, 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 good, and she makes him, and he's not that great a singer,
Yeah.
but it's all emotion. That
Yeah.
song, that's and like all of his emotions in it, and you can feel it, and it was perfect. I've zero notes on it. It just I don't know if it's because I didn't play the game or
No, you would have
because
played
I
that bit because that's at the very start.
this is like 5 years ago
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
though.
We need to acknowledge now, by the way,
Well,
sorry to
we
cut
can do
in,
it. We
but
can
we
do
do
it a
need to
couple of times.
acknowledge Kev has changed locations. We're just having some connectivity issues, so hopefully that's done. But Kev is in a different room. You're not going insane if you're watching the video right now. Sorry, Kev. You were saying you don't know if it's just because you didn't play the game. That yeah. So you
Yeah.
couldn't remember this,
Um,
or what was it?
or maybe it's the fact that it was kind of like I knew it was coming, but it didn't. I don't think it hit me emotionally the way they wanted it to. Um,
Mm.
for just that was just for me anyway. But I thought it was really great though. I thought the scene was brilliantly acted and brilliantly played out. But I do know
I
people that I was talking to that were like fucking tearing up at this scene, and I was like, "Fuck, that didn't happen to me." I was like, "Shut it up."
I don't know, like yeah, like you're entitled to your opinion, but your opinion's wrong. But like no, yes, like, um, I got goosebumps both times, and it's exactly for the reasons that you say. It's because it's the best musical performance I think I've seen on TV or cinema by someone who couldn't sing. Do you know what I
Mm,
mean? Because Pedro replaced that with vulnerability. you know, and he just went into it and he was just vulnerable and he just put his heart out there. And you're almost like kind of you're watching him tread the needle of the notes, almost like you're now watching kind of an X Factor contestant auditioning on the stage, and you're like rooting for them and you're like, get it, get it.
Yeah.
And it was such a perfect decision to do that. Now, obviously, it was probably self-enforced. He's probably not a natural singer, but the choice to do it that way is perfect. Because Troy Baker, like, just did a full on, like, you can go listen to it on Spotify. He did a full on amazing like cover version of this. Um Similar kind of style, but like it's just a bit like crisper. It's much crisper and smoother. But like I loved even the decision, and this is what gets me, and I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it, is where he started kind of speak singing, and he's like, oh, I'm missing stolen parts. I have no need for any more. But then he comes in and he hits the note dead on, and he's like, I believe. And then it's like, yeah,
Mm.
he got it back. Oh! Like he just, it was like riding a roller coaster trying to follow him along the notes, like, and but it's just pure heart and emotion and vulnerability and love that he's pouring into that. And you felt that they probably knew this is our last episode together, and we know they have such a special friendship that all of that came out through all of these emotional scenes, and I loved it. They nailed it. Again, I'd have loved to see it so that when Bella sings If I Ever Were to Lose You, like if she'd have sang that and we'd have had this scene beforehand, fuck me, it would have hit so hard. But like that's again bigger picture stuff. This
Yeah.
probably nailed it. Um Shout out to Bella Ramsey, who for me, when we recapped season one, there's obviously a lot of doubt about Bella Ramsey, and there always has been. And part of that is just toxic bullshit, negativity. And I'm so glad I listened to an interview with her on the Louis Theroux podcast the other week, which I recommend if anyone wants to check it out. And I'm so glad that she's just a well balanced young person because she gets that like part of it is just toxicity, and she's just not kind of she's letting it kind of bounce off her like Teflon, which I'm very glad to hear that. Um, but when we discussed season one, we kind of had her fuck you episode was the episode with David where she nearly gets raped, and it's like holy fucking shit. Like I don't give a fuck what you say. She earned the right to be Ellie Den. She's playing it like we discussed last week. She is Bella Ramsey's version of Ellie, and that's fine. You're allowed to make adaptive choices. You don't have to go beat for beat with the original character. No one does that when you're adapting kind of an actor. You always put your own kind of spin and twist on it. Do you know what I mean? Talk
Mm.
about fucking Iron Man. Like there's Iron Man in the comics, and then there's Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. Like they're different people. They're similar, but Robert Downey Jr. is playing him as Robert Downey Jr. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Adaptations happen. Deal with it, and she's taking her own. She's putting her own spin on it. This was another fuck you performance from her. She fucking nailed it. And she'd so much to do. Like, think about everything she had to do in this. She was drugged up at the start, and that line of where it's like, it's funny, but it's also like devastating, where it's like, I just wanted to wear short sleeves again. I'm sorry.
Oh my
And
God, that was heartbreaking. Yeah.
holy fuck.
Yeah.
Um, Being that like child again, like who just wants to feel happy and safe, and just regressing back to being a young kid who can be a kid, like she's protected by her dad when she's eating birthday cake and laughing with Joel in the kitchen, being the shitty rebellious teenager. Like even that like argument she had with Joe where she's like, you don't own anything, and then she realizes in the moment, I'm after hurting him. Like this is a man who takes pride in being a dad and an owner, and she understands that about Joel, and she sees the hurt on Joel's face, and then she realizes she went too far, and she kind of just softens. um Even just the little micro reactions, like I loved her reaction to Joel when he's speculating about her and Jesse.
That was great.
Oh,
Yeah.
which was
He
like
was like, you don't know.
just like giggling. This is perfect. But then the flip side of that, like this is one episode of television. The flip side of that was then like where Joel is telling her to go back. This is in the Eugene scene, like, and she just turns around and lashes out at him. It's like, I'm not your fucking kid, Joel. I'm your partner. And I'm like, worst thing you can say to a step parent. Like, you never cross
Mm.
that fucking fuck you, Ellie. Like, and then it was like the seething rage that she had, where you just understood it implicitly. She didn't do much like after the Eugene scene. She just it happened on her face, but you
Yeah.
understood every emotion and every thought that was going into it. Like she carried that. And people make fun of her looks and people kind of talk about how she's very like, even when they're trying to like dress up their like toxicity as valid criticism, and they're really making fun of her looks, but they're trying to be like, no, it's just she doesn't do facial expressions well. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I knew every thought that that girl had as she was like as they did the close in of her. Like I knew everything she was thinking. I knew she's thinking about like Joel and how she looked at his face and how she could tell he was lying and how that reminded her of the exact same look that she got. And like, fuck me, that was amazing. Um, like yeah, right down to the port scene, which I want to discuss by itself as well. Thoughts on Bella Ramsey?
Yeah, man. That scene in particular where she just saw Joel's face and knew exactly he was lying, because she was before that she was practicing the speech of, I kind of feel like you did lie to me at that point, and she wanted to confront him about it again, and she's practicing the speech. I thought that was great. I also really loved the line that that Ellie says to Joel of, I'm sorry for getting a tattoo. I'm sorry for experimenting with girls. Sorry for doing drugs, except I'm not. And that
Yeah.
just, you can see Joel just like, oh fuck yeah, you're just a teenager. Like,
Yeah, and then we think
her,
about Joel as a teenager himself, buying pot,
yeah,
drinking cans with his dad, and he's like, yeah, and he can't be mad at her then. Like he's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
yeah,
That's when he kind of was like, oh, maybe you do need your own space.
yes,
Her delivery of that was fucking great. Like as well, it's just this little bits that I don't think people that are big critics of her realize how good she is.
yeah,
Um, but when we get back to Jackson though, after Joel kills Eugene, Jesus fucking Christ, she knocks it out of the park though as well
yeah,
with this venom
yeah.
to Joel, and you all of us are feeling it because we're watching Joel tell this lie and this awful lie as well.
Let's. I want to keep the Joey Pants chat. I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
okay,
I do
okay,
want to
yeah,
keep
yeah,
all of it for one because I thought that was great, but like I want to give it its own kind of flowers. Apologies.
yeah.
But
That's okay.
let
That's okay.
the space scene. We can talk about that. So like talk
Mm.
about like yeah, like what were your thoughts on how she played it, how they both played this? Like I know obviously you were mentioning the little tear and stuff like that as well. Like that is like I've been saying it to you for a while. I know you hadn't got that far in the game, and I was like, astronaut, yeah,
Yeah.
space, yeah. Like it's that kind of scene where gamers just have to say astronaut, and they're like, ah, yeah, yeah. So how did that come off to you in terms of like, um, your looking at it like for the first time?
When Ellie she jokes about seeing a dinosaur. Holy shit! It is a fucking dinosaur.
I'm climbing a fucking dinosaur.
Just
Oh, sorry.
how happy Ellie is there, and then yeah, it's the look that Ellie gives Joel. I was like, "Do you like this?" And she's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Yeah.
Um, it's little, or even when they do the sequence of her imagination of her being in the rocket going into space as well, and it's just this wondrous joy on her face. It's unreal. It's really, it's not easy to do.
No.
Um, it's
No.
that kind of like acting definitely requires a bit of, I think, method acting probably in there as well, of like
Mm.
thinking about something else that brings you that much joy to really kind of show it, because it seems so genuine
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Bella Ramsey's face. It's
I
great.
like this is iconic in the game. And again, look, I love me some Ashley Johnson who played the original Ellie in the game. But she just doesn't have a lot to do here because a lot of it is visual. And she does a voice and it's on and I don't want to undermine kind of the visual artists who make the game because they deserve all the flowers because this makes you cry in a video game the way I imagine made myself and a lot of people cry when you're watching it here, but there's a whole different ball game to have to like play this out yourself
Yeah.
because it's just the camera looking at you and light changing, and you've got to carry that moment into bring the viewer to space with your eyes closed.
Mhm.
Like and not able to kind of move or do much, and she brought us to space. That's fucking incredible. Like that's, and again, like if you're underplaying it, I'm
And I'm
sorry, but
glad.
you're just ratting yourself out for not understanding or appreciating that that's not fucking easy. You know what I mean? It's like when people in
Yeah,
wrestling like turn around and they're like, "Oh, he's just a bodybuilder," and I'm like, "It's really hard to get that shredded." Like fucking hell, like
yeah.
it takes a lot of work to look like that. So for you to say it's just that just tells me you don't have a fucking clue how hard that is. And it's the same for people who are like will comment on Bella Ramsey's performance. This was iconic. It was just fucking perfect.
Mm. And to your point as well, I'm really glad that they didn't give us any visuals of what space is
Yeah.
might be like. It's just all. It just I'd like to go a bit darker, and then you do get some lights on her face, and that's kind of it. And the rest is just her facial expressions. Unreal,
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
real. They could have gone full ham on that and like done a entire space sequence, but no, you don't need it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, in that way it was also faithful to the game. Like and for it to work now on it's such a like an underplayed scene. Like and for them to have done it and made it work in two different art forms now is just these people are creators of the highest order and they understand some things fundamentally in a way that again, like you say, a lot of other projects would have felt the need to, turn it into something else. It was fantastic. They absolutely nailed it. Let's talk about the one type of pants that for me are even more
Yes.
iconic than hammer pants, Joey pants. Let's talk about him. We have been speculating all season, and we're dying to talk about it because all season when we've been discussing these episodes, we're like, when are we getting Joey pants? You don't book Joey pants and not use them, blah 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 blah. And then we got him. We got him, like you said earlier, for about 5 minutes total.
Yeah.
But fuck me.
What a 5 minutes. What a fucking five
I cut
minutes.
you off earlier, so I wanted I'll cede the floor to you on this. Our Joey Pants kind of finally we got the Eugene reveal, and do you know what I love about this? Just to set the scene, they told us everything that happened here. Like we knew what happened here. They'd given us like pretty much all the like the broad strokes of it. We just didn't know
Yeah.
the little finer details. And we're like, how do you do this? Like, when do you bring this up? You're leaving it to very late in the season. Like, what are you doing? Like, and we doubted them. We should never doubted them. They had this up their sleeve because they had Joey the fuck pants. Thoughts on all of this, Eugene?
Yeah, like you said, like they set the scene amazingly well. Like the Ellie and Joel come across that freshly dead clicker. Then the horse runs by with the body being dragged face first along the ground, and then we just get to Joey Pants Eugene, and he knows he's fucking done for, and lifts up the shirt, and you can just his anguish of knowing I'm done. Um, was just so perfect. Like to me there was all those scenes that people were saying that made them kind of emotional with Ellie and Joel, but this by far to me was way more heavy and like emotional to me. I
Mm,
suppose it's emotion
yeah,
in a different way, but that would be way more close to what would make me fucking tear up.
yeah.
I loved I loved the lore that they dropped in this though as well of holding out your hand and counting to 10
Mm.
as like a way of determining how much time people have left. So they figured out a way to kind of know how much time you have
Do you
after you've
think
been
that
bitten.
was like? Do you feel that that was like a rule, or that was like? Do you remember in season one, Ellie just decided, my blood is magic, and tried to rescue is it Sam, and just
Oh
decides like
yeah,
I'm just gonna rub my blood on your wound and that'll make it better. Was that Ellie kind of improvising because she was desperate to kind of give him what she wanted, or do you feel that this is a an actual test that they do?
I think it's an actual because Joel didn't say, "Oh, that's
He
bullshit." You
accepted
know
it,
that
yeah,
he accepted it. He was like, "Oh yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense." So that's obviously a rule that they have now, which I find really interesting as well. That they've kind of established a little bit more just subtle lore there. Um, but yeah, when I yeah when Joel takes Joey Pants off though to the clearing, it's just it's just hurt because as soon as he's like, oh, this is a really beautiful place. You're like, oh no, this is
Mm.
happening.
Yeah, and he's like,
Um,
"Fuck the view! I don't want the fucking view." You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like it reminded me of there's an iconic scene in I know you tapped out of The Walking Dead, but did you ever get to the look at the flowers scene?
no, I don't think so.
Oh, it's a good one. I won't spoil it for anyone, and like I think it's something you can. No, the whole episode is amazing. Um, but yeah, look at the flowers for anyone who wants to Walking Dead. It's like. It's that, but they played a twist on it where it's like, I don't want to look at fucking flowers. I want to look at my wife. Like, you
Yeah.
fuck. Fucking brilliant. Because that's what you'd say. You'd be
Yeah.
like, if you're Joel, you'd be like, oh, this is the dignity that I can give him. I can make his last like things he sees on Earth beautiful. And he's trying to give him dignity here, by bringing him there. He doesn't want him to know he's gonna kill him. Like if Joel's plan goes to plan,
Mm.
Eugene probably doesn't realize he's about to get shot, and Joel just pops him, and he's dead before he even realizes it.
Yeah.
But Eugene got down there, and he's like, "Oh fuck," and then they have that kind of back and forth. Um, I loved this, and do you know what I loved as well? Like even the argument that they had afterwards and so on, and Catherine O'Hara's react. Catherine O'Hara is like she's a value
Yeah.
add to anything she's in, but like fuck me, like she's so good. And even the earlier scene with her there, where she's like, "What's her line?" I wrote it down. Where it's like, "Is there a doctor is inside on me like Lucy from fucking Peanuts?" And then like Joel starts like trauma dumping, and you can tell that this is a daily occurrence for her, like just in the way that she plays it. And then like Joel starts trauma dumping on her, and then like goes kind of quiet, and like she's like, don't ask, don't ask, don't ask." And then she's like, "Oh fuck, you have to." Why? And then he walks away, and she's like, "What the fuck with these guys?" um, but they're just such brilliant value adds. Like I never ever thought that I could feel bad for Rob Cifaretto, but fuck me, like he just played it so vulnerably here. He just played it so like cute and dithery, and you could see like older people that you love in the way that he played it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And you're like, "Holy
Just
fuck!"
it's the close-ups of his face and the amount of pain and anguish in his face of like, I just want to see her one more time. Like, they
Yeah.
love each other so much. And yeah, they did so well using his facial acting, I think there.
Yeah.
Um, just
It's
really wonderful stuff, man. And it showed the real despicable side of Joel.
okay.
Um,
Okay. Okay, this is what I wanted to get to. We're gonna
mm,
do for one last time for Pedro Pascal's last episode. We're gonna play a game that Last of Us fans have been playing since 2013 when the first game is released, and we're gonna ask
mm.
one simple question: Was Joel wrong
For doing that, or for in general?
for doing like for this act? Was Joel wrong? I'll make the first point. I'll throw it out there. He wasn't wrong. The only thing he was wrong about was promising to Ellie that he wouldn't kill her. Like the lie to Ellie was the thing he was wrong about because he discounted the trust that she had in him, and that's something that he shouldn't have done. And obviously, look, it was a mistake and had wider consequences in that it fractured their relationship and this, and that, and the other. But he was so right on this. And here's the thing again, what have we learned about Joel? Okay. He is a man of practicalities, and we saw all of this in the episode. Like his purpose is being a dad. And that's what he loves, and he will sacrifice anything. We saw it in the first episode where they're driving by the family, and Sarah's just like, "There's a family there," and he's like, "Keep fucking driving. I'm a
Yeah,
dad. When shit hits the fan, I'm a dad, and that's all that matters." And that is his only priority. Like Eugene screwed Eugene here. I'm gonna say it. Like I think
interesting.
Joel made that decision when Eugene turned around and he's like, "Is it cold out here? Is it just me, or is it the cordyceps?" And it's like, yeah, Joel's like, "No, he's not. He's not good. He's not good. I gotta kill him." And it's literally they're at a crossroads, and it's like left
Yeah,
is will take you back,
left or right.
right is certain doom. And he chose that moment to say how cold he was. Fucking idiot. Like Joe was right to kill him. Like he was. He just shouldn't have lied to Ellie about it.
I think Joel was fucked either way
Mm.
in terms of Ellie. If he shot him there and then, it would have shown Ellie that he didn't trust her judgment, being like, we could have got him back with the test. Um, and maybe would have been the lesser of two evils if he shot him there and then, but it still would have been a lack of trust in her. And I think that's what was really kind of hammered home about like how much she wants to be trusted with the whole we're partners thing. But then doing what he did as well, like he still lied to her and did what she didn't want to do. I think he was fucked either way.
But I'm
Um,
sorry, but like she is
I
19. She is a fucking idiot. Like, I'm sorry, but your parent does have to pull rank sometimes if it comes down to protecting you because bringing back a guy who at any stage can just become a zombie and just kill all he is just not the move. Like, I'm sorry, he's right. They have rules for a reason. He just should have communicated better with Ellie. Like, Rafi had to die. Like, Eugene had to die. Um, there's no other move there. Like, and he wanted
two
to
guns
try
on
and
him though, and one of these is immune.
what's that?
Like two guns pointed at him, and one of you is immune as well. I think they would have been okay if he had turned the straight shot to the head.
Yeah, but like you're then bringing him back to the like it's hey, will we bring this bomb back to the island just to see if we can like disarm it?
Outside the gates, he did make a point. He's going to be outside the gates. He's not going to go in.
So what? But if you do that for one person, and yet then it just becomes a case of like everyone who gets infected is going to be like, but you do the thing you did with Eugene, and then you've set a precedent for that. Like again, that then erodes the rule and heightens the risk. You cannot endanger the lives of the many. And I'm sorry, but Eugene signed up to this contract. The time for having this, they have fucking debates. They have their little town halls. Like, if you don't agree with that rule, speak before you're bitten. I'm sorry, but you can't have a change of heart and start to have like a debate about like kind of this and that and the other because you never anticipated that if you're out, you might get bitten. Like, sorry, you made that argument too late when you were bitten, and you're not a credible
Yeah,
witness at this point. I don't know.
I do think as a viewer, we're a bit more in line or inclined to agree with Joel
Of
because we
course.
know that the cordyceps can communicate with each other, and if one person who is infected by the cordyceps is at Jackson or in a particular place, the cordyceps can basically send a horde if they want
Yes.
to. um, so because they're a hive mind, so you're right in that respect, I think. But I do think uh, it wasn't a great move considering he promised it to Ellie.
Yeah, he didn't play it well. Like
No.
that, the promise was the thing. I thought Ellie as well just overreacted. Like again, like I'm
Oh, I
sorry.
didn't. It's
I
because she knew he lied about the big thing before that. I think it was more of a reaction to that more than anything else.
right, but also right. She knew about this. Like they're walking away from the. She did know for years, and I'm sorry, but like I get that you're pissed off with the lie and stuff like that, but fuck me, like my parents lied like motherfuckers to me when I was a kid. You know, I don't hold it against them. You know, and I know that's not as big as like okay, I murdered an entire hospital of innocent people. Right? Okay, they never told me that level of lie. Um, but like there has to be empathy towards the type of this is a man who is just he cannot like stand by while his daughter dies again. Like he can't. He's not going to. 100 times out of 100, Joel is going to make the same decision, and that's what we end on with the porch scene. Like I
Mm,
just think she's being immature here in a way, and like she's acting emotionally and irrationally when she tells that to um Catherine O'Hara's character in that like it's like you're dropping a bomb in there, do you know what I mean? You're fucking him over, and I'm sorry, but like we've just seen these scenes. I'm Team Joel as far as this is concerned, and I've never been Team Joel as much until I got to this episode. But when I started questioning it, I'm like, yeah, he made the right call here. I'm sorry, like. I don't think he was right for what he did in the hospital. I think he deserved what he got with like Abby, and I'm very sympathetic towards Abby's cause, as we'll probably end up discussing a lot when we get into season three. But like, I don't know. I think Ellie should have like she knows what happened to Sarah. He talks about Sarah openly with her. Like, I think she should understand that that's his.
Mm.
You can't stand by and watch your kid die. You just can't.
Yeah, and I mean that's what the whole, like you said, the whole court scene was about. It's like you don't know why I did what I did till you've had a kid.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Let's talk about the port scene. There was actually a change, an adaptive change here from the video game. So in the video game,
okay.
the port scene is iconic. I mentioned it to you last week. I asked you the port scene. What do you know? Um, that scene happens, but it's not where the confession happens. The confession happens separately. So there's a flashback where Ellie actually goes to the hospital and walks through the hospital and sees physically what Joel has done. Um, Now I get where
Okay.
they compressed it. It's fine because maybe you have to lose the Joey Pants scene, so I definitely wouldn't have changed the thing. But then Joel is able to track her to the hospital, and that's where they have a very like for like conversation about confess to me. But that is the beginning of their rift. So the Eugene scene isn't part of the game, but that causes the rift in the show. And I think ultimately we got like it's a better trade-off. I'm okay with it. But just for our awareness, there is like a change there. And the port scene then pretty much happens, but it's much more the port scene isn't a revelation scene, it's a recovery scene. And it's that kind of it's the last scene we have a Joel in the game, and it is that whole oh, they did talk again. Okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But obviously Ellie then never got a chance to try and forgive him like she said then, and that is what's filling her with regret and kind of the need for revenge. Um Thoughts on this, kind of having watched it for the first time?
Yeah, what like this once again, this is a scene that got me way more emotionally than any at the start of the episode.
Mm.
Once again, different kind of emotions though. Um, yeah, I thought it was just a beautiful scene, really, really well acted. I don't know what else I can kind of say about it other than it's just phenomenal acting.
Yeah.
Um, I did part of because of what me and a couple of my mates do of just of more cowboy accents and kind of taking the piss a little bit. That delivery of "because I love you" was a little bit like yeah, it's kind of funny, but for the most part,
I get it. I do. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's just a very Texas accent. But
Yeah.
it does I have no idea how he held tears in his eyes just kind of like floating on your eyelids for that long in that scene. It's
In multiple
crazy.
takes, like.
Yeah, that's all his eyes are just full of water. But like just the subtle head movements of nope, nope, and yep when she's asking him questions, it's so heartbreaking because he's just
Yeah.
I think everybody's had a moment like that where they're having to confess to something they fucked up on, and
Mm.
having that just that really raw emotion of I'm sorry, but I just did this to protect you was fucking great. Really, really great.
Yeah. I think you felt the weight. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know actually. Um, but I know a lot of directors these days, it's becoming quite fashionable now. And I don't know why it hasn't been for longer because I think it works and everything we're seeing shows as much. A lot of directors are choosing to film things chronologically where possible. Um, and the reason they do is it's particularly when there's an emotional bond that's strong, because that bond builds between the actors and then it builds between it kind of builds into kind of bigger things. We saw it most recently with I don't know if you've seen the movie Warfare. If not, check it out. It's excellent. Brilliant war movie. But they actually had the actors build up this broy kind of friendship, and you can really feel it in the movie. Like, I don't know if this was the last scene that they shot together, but it felt like it, and it was them
Okay, yeah.
bringing the emotion and intensity of Geez, we actually do love each other. We're a little Joel and Ellie now. We're actually really good friends who just respect and love each other throughout the course of this life-changing project that we've worked on together. And we're never gonna act in the scene. Like there is not. There may be more. Like you have Pedro Pascal's number, you're gonna use it. So that I'm not officially saying that's the end of Joel, but there is no more Joel in the source story here. So for all intents and purposes, this is the last scene we'll see of the two of them, and it felt that way. But they gave everything in that scene, and it felt very raw and real emotion there. What I loved as well is the we spoke about Ellie last week as they're almost presenting Bella Ramsey's version of Ellie as a bit dumb. But I think this was clever in that it showed
Mm.
she's not actually dumb. She's just, as Dina said, not school oriented. You know what I mean? She's actually really emotional intelligent because she's almost doing the thing that I just argued she should have done. She has the capacity to see and forgive. Like when we see her walk past the porch and then like we spend that moment with Joel and it just breaks him. He doesn't do anything, but you can just tell by the way that he's not doing anything that it breaks him fundamentally to have her walk away like that.
Mm.
When he's tried to protect her, because again, protecting and acts of service are Joel's love language. Um, and to be rejected like that is just so, oh, it's just painful. But then she comes back and she has the emotional intelligence capacity, and that's something that is consistent with even this version of Ellie, is that she has the emotional intelligence to kind of read in the moment, okay, he was sticking up for you. You may not appreciate it and you may not have wanted it to happen that way, but it was coming from a good place. This person loves you, and it adds that, when you're like you're really like we've all had fights with the likes of partners and stuff, okay? And like you're in that real DEFCON um like stage where you're really mad at each other. You might be shouting at each other or something like that. But then like they'll say something which really indicates, oh, they love me, you know what I mean? Or they really know me as a person. And it doesn't make you not mad, but it just softens you a little bit. And then you just start like
Yeah.
watching what you're saying a little bit because you're like, I do love this person. You know what I mean? Like, so treat them well. And I'm sure I'll try let the emotion follow along. And that's what this scene is. And Ellie kind of communicating that in such a beautiful way. Like, I don't know if I can ever forgive you, but I'd like to try. And that's all that Joe
Yeah.
would ever want or ask for. Like, fuck me. Um, I don't know, this episode, man. Like, the more we talk about it. Do you know what? I haven't even said my favorite line from this episode.
What's your favorite line?
If you love someone, you can always see their face. Fuck
Mm.
me! The writing in this show. Holy shit. Like, fuck. Um, any other thoughts from yourself about the episode?
The only other thing I suppose as well is I guess bringing it back to when Joel did lash out at the New Year's party. It's kind of like a very much an acceptance of who Ellie is now,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
being gay. Because he's asking on the porch about Dina then as well, and says she's really lucky to have Ellie as well. And it's like, damn, that's come proper full circle from that one scene a couple of years ago. I really liked that. And then just to touch on as well, like just the beginning of it with Tommy and Joel looking after Tommy. You can see Tommy's the one that's consoling Gail, and
Mm.
Gail does eventually forgive Joel to a certain degree.
She doesn't forgive, but she tries to
She
forgive.
tries to, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, she does the exact same thing as
um,
Ellie. People
yeah,
identify that Joel is a good guy, but he just has his principles. He's a dad, and he will do whatever he needs to do to be a dad.
yeah,
And there's something you could, no matter, even if you don't agree with the actual individual actions, you can respect that fundamentally about a person. And I think that's a nice read of Joel. It's actually probably a
yeah.
nicer read of him than the video game gives him. But yeah, I do appreciate that. Sorry, go ahead.
That was great, and just Tommy being the one that was consoling Gail, I kind of think he, I guess, just out of my own head canon, is the one that probably brought her around to trying to forgive Joel because of how much he protected him as a kid.
Yeah.
And he's Joel's.
Oh, look at you adding layers to this. Oh. Love it.
It's a reason. There's a reason Tommy was the one consoling her, though, right? So
Yeah, you're
there's
giving me headcanon though. Like, I love that. You're just adding to it. Yeah, I love that. That's a
mm,
great read of it.
yeah. Other than that, that's I also love the final shot we got as well, and it's very similar to the end of season one of them walking out into to go to Seattle. I think it is for the first time as well, and we have just the flashes of lightning and just the city and the pissing rain and just Ellie there as well.
And
I love that
and
ending.
that weather now, that brings us starkly back to present day. And
Mm,
that weather is indicative of Eddie's state of mind. This is someone
yeah.
who is fundamentally changed. The last time we saw her, she tortured someone. She did something that is unforgivable and horrific and very, very Joel. Something she probably learned from Joel.
mm.
But now it is eroding her further, and that's something we need to think about. Um, since you don't know, and I'm not going to give anything away here either, but I'd love to get your thoughts on what do you think's going to happen next week in the finale. I've
I mean,
already kind
we're
of tipped my hat to one thing that happens, but let's not go there again. If people don't want spoilers, that's fine. But anything in particular, like what's your read on how we'll get?
I'm hoping we get Tommy and Ellie going to. I think Dina is Dina fucked now because she got an arrow to the knee and she's preggers. So I think Jesse might take her home, and I think
Okay.
Tommy and Ellie will take out the rest of this revenge plot. I hope because I'd like Tommy to kind of Tommy and Ellie seems like it would be a fucking cool team together.
Okay, I love this. I was listening to you like a lot, and you brought up a lot where I'm like, I should have played the game. I should have played the game, and I'm like, yeah, you should have. But I also really enjoy listening to you speculate with
Okay.
that. Yeah. Um, Here's a few questions that I just ponder for the time being, heading into the finale, and I'm not going to give anything away. We do need to think about what's Tommy up to because again, like even if you play the game, and this is different, don't worry. Um,
Oh yeah,
like
assuming Tommy's okay because we don't know.
Yeah, and that's a genuine question that I've no idea about because, um, like in the game they go to rescue Tommy because Tommy's the one who goes off to avenge Joel, and Ellie and Dina go to bring him
Yeah.
back. Now Ellie's going to get revenge as well. She's on the exact same mission as Tommy, but officially the pretense is that they're going to bring him back for Maria. So what's Tommy doing? How's he feel about all this? That's different, and that's something that's going to be very interesting.
Mm.
However we end up addressing it. Um,
Isaac. I also want to see some Isaac next week too. If
There is a clip of him in the trailer. I don't know how Isaac plays into it, like genuinely, even with my video game knowledge. So that's going to be completely original. Like
just
I
give me
like
more
because
Jeffrey Wright then.
yeah, we are getting more Jeffrey Wright. I also think we need to now start thinking about what Abby's been doing. Um, like what's been going on with Abby. Like that matters. That's who they're chasing, and that's obviously the last thing. And that's not a spoiler because like she's the main person. I think it's about time
Yeah.
we checked in with her in some way, and I think that's going to be interesting too. Um, Kev, always love these chats, and I'm devastated we've
Yes.
only got one more left. But I
It'll be a
am
good one
looking
now.
forward to the finale, yeah, and I'm dying to get your thoughts. Kev, anything to plug, or if you don't, anything you want to just shout out that you're enjoying, watching, reading, etc.
Yeah, we just announced a Dublin show today in Whelan's in October, so tickets are out
Nice,
this Friday.
I'll be there.
There's also a couple of tickets for excellent man. There's also a couple of tickets left for our Cork show. And just if you haven't seen Sinners yet in the cinema,